There it is. The famous Chicago Stadium organ. That means one thing and one thing only. The second balcony is back for another episode. You haven't canceled us off the internet yet, and we appreciate that. I'm Greg Boysen, joined by our Team 2 captain, our resident Florida man, Frank Nova. As you like to refer to yourself, the creepy uncle of the group chat.
That is correct. I'm the pervy uncle.
Well, we actually have good stuff and things to talk about today. Well, not of it, all of it's good, but we have a game to talk about, which is nice.
Yeah. And it was nice that the Chicago Blackhawks attended a hockey game. They didn't really play in one.
Well, they were there for about 12 minutes, 14 minutes. Started off nice.
And they had lead in their skates.
Well, Jeff Blashill even said that in the morning skate when he talked to us before they even got on the plane to go to Detroit. He's like, yeah, these guys are going to be really tired because they've had 6 straight days of 2-hour practices and conditioning drills. So he was kind of like, they're probably going to be slow and tired tonight. And he was correct. They were slow and bad and, disjointed is a good way to look at it. He said again today when we talked to him after practice, they were off on Wednesday, that, it just guys aren't going to, you're not going to have that in the season where you skate like they've been skating for 6 days in a row. And he said guys were thinking too much on the ice. So when you start thinking, you become slower, and then all of a sudden you've lost control. But nothing that anybody needs to be, panicked about. I saw online, the typical overreaction right away. 75% of that roster isn't going to be here when the games count. So, I mean, the biggest takeaways from this game was Connor Bedard looks faster. we know all year that he worked on that, and it definitely looked like that early in that game. Had some jump on his step.
Looked sharp, but sharp at the dot too.
Yeah, had a good night at the faceoff. I think 7 of 10, 7 of So listen, that's awesome. The more he could build his confidence there at the dot, the better everything will be. Because as they proved in Detroit, having the puck is good. Not having the puck, you lose. And another high point of that night was Arvid Soderblom was excellent. 40 saves in a 3-2 loss. He was the only reason there was even a glimmer of hope to win that game. Connor Bedard scored on the power play because he sat at the left dot and cranked a one-timer, something I've been screaming for him to do for 2 years. But I think having a real power play quarterback on that unit is going to help that play happen more often, because so many times last season and the year before, it's Bedard with the puck all the time looking to facilitate, and you can't really shoot a whole lot when you're looking to pass. So a guy like Sam Rinzel and hopefully Artie Levshunov eventually, we saw in that play, Rinzel did a great job of drawing the defense to him and then leaving Bedard wide open, and he just grip it and rip it, and it was a goal. You definitely want to see more of that.
And especially because Rinzel's right-handed, so having him at the right point going across to Bedard on the left side is going to just set him up for that one-timer beautifully.
Yeah, I mean, Alex DeBrincat has made a lot of money in AHL for that play. Alex Ovechkin has scored more goals in the history of the game because of that exact play. You can pad your stats a lot throughout a season if that play is in the arsenal and continues to be effective. So that was good. The play on the second goal, the Wyatt Kaiser goal, that was good for Levshunov led that rush. That pair didn't look great for much of the night, but nobody really did on the back end. But we saw on that play why Levshunov was the second overall pick 2 years ago, led the rush, got the puck behind the net, just took off. And then once he got into the zone, showed some great patience and vision to get the puck over to, I can't remember who was the forward that, was it Moore? No, it was Thompson, Aiden Thompson.
Yeah, it was Aiden Thompson.
Aiden Thompson, and then Thompson got it over to Kaiser, who put off a great shot. And it was Moore that provided the screen on that play. Yes, Aiden Thompson, who I talked to today for a story, and he called me sir 4 times and made me feel very old. Thanks, Aiden.
A dark day for the second balcony when hockey players calling my colleagues sir.
Yeah, I mean, it was refreshing to hear "sir" not being immediately followed by "you're causing a scene." That was a nice change of pace for me. But.
Well, part of the problem, you got to get a good hockey nickname. They got to be calling you Boyse in there.
I don't want to know what they call me in there when I'm not in there. But can you get a hockey nickname if you're not actually on the team? I don't know how that works.
I don't know. There's your next story.
All right, there we go. I'm going to ask the room.
Yeah.
Can I have a hockey nickname and what would it be? And then I'll probably go find a real job after that out of shame and embarrassment. I don't want to know what those guys really think of me.
No, you get a recording of that, and that's for our next podcast. And if we have a PG-13 rating, it's out the window after that.
Yeah.
I have a feeling they will treat it with all due respect.
Yeah.
Ask a room full of hockey players, what should I be called?
Yeah. I'm not looking forward to those answers.
Oh, no, I think it'd be hilarious. I'd love to ask them myself. Hey, what would you guys call me?
Yeah, maybe that'd be something to think down the road. Once we get the final roster there and I can start, buttering these guys up, maybe they'll give me a nicer name. The other guy I thought looked good, at least in serving the role he needs to embrace. I thought Colton Dock had a pretty good game in Detroit.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he was throwing his body around. I mean, he wasn't really present offensively, but, especially if he winds up on Bedard's wing, he'll get the puck will find him just because the puck's going to be around. And, if he embraces his role of being the big body and the banger and all that, he'll get to the front of the net. He'll be able to pick up some loose change or get some deflections, basically, as you know, in our brief tenure here, I like to compare current Blackhawks to old Blackhawks. Basically, he can be like a Brian Bickle type.
Yeah, for sure. He's that old school power forward type player, which there's not a lot out there anymore. Definitely not in the prospect pool. So that gives him a head, a little bit of an advantage over some of the other prospects. And Jeff Blashill has been, you could tell he's a fan of Doc, the way he talks about him and what he wants him to do. At training camp last year, or it might have even been rookie camp, because we were talking to Anders Sorensen before he was head coach, was talking about Doc, saying the team wants him to play with emotion, but not emotional. Don't go too far in some of these things. And I think he's gotten that message on what it's going to take, what he needs to do to stay in the NHL. And keep your stick on the ice, buddy. That's all I got to say, because there were 2 plays. Bedard hit him with passes and he missed them. It's just like when you're on the ice with 98, have the stick down on the ice at all times, because that puck's going to get to you. It's going to get to you fast. So be ready for it. Yeah. So those were the positives of Tuesday's loss. There were a bunch of negatives, but again, it's the first preseason game. It's a bunch of young kids, a lot of them playing in their first NHL action. Most of them not going to be on the team. It's a new head coach, new systems, yada, yada, yada. It doesn't mean anything. Too many declarations were made negatively about what you saw in a preseason game?
Yeah. There's some thematic things that I saw last year that are still carrying over. Oliver Moore needs to shoot the puck. He's getting into areas where he can shoot the puck. And I don't know, like there was one time he came down on the right boards all by himself, got behind the defense, had the puck, and kind of fumbled with it and then tried to make a pass rather than just flip it towards the net. Because you had, I can't remember if it was Thompson or if it was Nazar going more towards the net. And just throw the puck at the net. You don't have to make the extra pass. Throw the puck to the net. You got somebody crashing the net. Let him take it from there. You don't have to put the puck on his tape. You just need to put the puck on goal, and a guy heading towards the net can get to the puck.
Yeah, there was definitely a lot of that extra pass, a lot through the night, where it's like you're passing up a shooting lane to make a pass to your guy across the slot, and it gets broken up. We saw a lot of that last year, and yeah, that was still there. And Blashill
That's what Blashill means when he says they're thinking too much.
Yeah, I mean, they need to have a shoot first mentality here. Be selfish. It's okay. It's okay. No one's going to be mad at you if you score 45 goals. No one's going to call you selfish jerk. Score goals, win games. You'll never be called selfish.
Yeah. Wayne Gretzky would shoot Gretzky was also Wayne Gretzky, but he was the one who said you only miss the shots you don't take.
Right. Not Michael Scott. But
Wayne Gretzky, Michael Scott.
Right. So yeah, I mean that's a game you just. I'll be more worried if they look that bad defensively with the veteran-laden lineup in here that we're going to see this weekend. Like, if Jason Dickinson and Ilya Mikheyev and Nick Foligno and Ryan Donato are out there and they're playing defense like that, then I'll be like, okay, what are we doing here? But it's not, you definitely want to feel good on a preseason debut. You want to be, that was encouraging. It wasn't that encouraging, but there were parts of that. The Bedard, the Soderblom, Doc, as we mentioned, they look good, and that's what you want to see.
I'd like to see them put the Nazar, Thompson, Moore line out there again, just because I know that Thompson and Moore are probably going to be in Rockford to start the season, but it would just be fun, just because it would be fun, and you're allowed to have fun in the preseason because those three guys, they can move.
Yeah. There's no doubt that this is the team speed on this roster is improved, and they're going to be fun to watch. But just don't be a bunch of Andreas Athanasiou out there. Get some finish, start shooting pucks, score some goals. Like if you beat everybody on the ice down the ice and you can't get the puck on net, it's useless. It doesn't do anybody good. Yeah, you're Victor Stahlberg, Andreas Athanasiou. The list goes on and on. It's a Blackhawks tradition.
Gotta say Jack Skilly.
It's
Jack's probably listening. Hey, what's up, Jack?
He's still around. I just saw him on some other podcast the other day. I forget which one. Okay. I didn't listen to it, but I saw he was on it. So
the first balcony.
Yeah. But it seems that the Hawks always have those guys. It's a tradition almost as good as the cheering of the anthem. You get a really fast guy, all feet, no hands. Yeah, I'm not ready to put Oliver Moore there yet, but I do need to see a little. I need to see, no pun intended, a little more from him as far as the wanting to score. I mean, he said, earlier in training camp or at rookie camp, he said, I've got to finish better. That's my biggest problem is I don't finish. Well, you got to have a scorer's mentality.
Yeah.
Because if you get and you beat everybody and you got a clear shot and the first thing you're doing is looking for a teammate to pass to, of course you're never going to finish.
Right. And, once he gets settled in, you're going to start seeing that from Nick Lardis. He is a shooter. He shoots. He does not look for the pass. He looks to shoot. We've already talked about him and, what he needs to learn before he can be an NHL goal scorer. But he definitely has the mentality. It's just a matter of everything else comes with him. Like, he can't keep doing, he can't do bad zone entries and hope to have that one great shot a night, which, that was the old Chris Versteeg formula. Where Versteeg would get stripped from his puck will get stripped from him 3 or 4 times on really poor zone entries. Then he'd do like a heel drag into a toe drag into skating backwards and moonwalking, and next thing you know, the puck's in the back of the net.
While rapping.
Yes, while rapping Black Eyed Peas.
Yeah. Hashtag goddamn it Versteeg. That's a throwback to the old days.
It is indeed.
I loved Chris Versteeg. I still got my Chris Versteeg OG 32 jersey with the 2010 final patch on it. I loved me some Chris Versteeg. That guy was a lot of fun. So yeah, that was that game. Burn the tape, whatever. This weekend they've got St. Louis on Saturday, Minnesota on Sunday. You'll see more of the vets, at least in one of those games. So it will look a little more like hockey, guys that know what they're doing. And it was an interesting day at camp today, Thursday, back after a day off. And we got the email last night from Blackhawks PR of what the 2 rosters what the 2 sessions, teams, whatever you want to call it, will look like and what time they're going to hit the ice. And it was very obvious that Jeff Blashill has already split up the group into guys that have a shot to be here opening night and guys who are going to be making that trip west on I-90 Monday morning for IceHogs training camp. I'm team. Yeah, exactly. I actually made that joke today. One of the PR people from the Hawks was asking, do anybody want to speak to anybody specifically from this group? Because they're not in the main locker room. So they would have to bring them in specifically. I said, can I ask everybody on this group on the ice what their favorite beefaroo drive-through menu? What's their order? What's their go-to? They didn't think it was funny as I did, but
I think it's hilarious. I think it's hilarious.
In that group, though, was Nick Lardis, which shouldn't be a surprise. Nick Lardis is not making this team out of camp. I don't think anybody had that expectation. He needs some Rockford in him. He needs to get that pro game. He needs to have some grown-ass 29-year-old AHL veterans knock him around a little bit and get that junior out of him. But 2 guys that were on. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Have you been seeing in practice? Have you been seeing him catching a little bit more thump? I know the one practice you said he got drilled a couple times. Yeah,
they were giving him a little extra bump. Not really. They've been doing more actual installing of systems. They've done a lot of special teams work the last couple practices, so there hasn't been as much physicality as there was those first couple days. Those first couple of days was a lot of battle drills and conditioning, so you had an opportunity to give a guy an extra shot or 2. You haven't had that much of that since those first couple of days, as they try and actually implement what they want to do here. But the 2 other guys that were on that team 2 were defensemen Kevin Korchinski and Nolan Allen. But I will say this: Blashill said after practice that if you're on team 2 doesn't necessarily mean you're done. And tomorrow they've released the roster. They added Korchinski and Allen to team 1 tomorrow, so they're going to get a shot to keep trying to impress, but not a good sign.
No. And both these guys, they're still young, and you can see Korchinski settling into the second pair left-handed defenseman at some point. I mean, we've seen enough glimpses from him to know that there's a really good defenseman in there. Like right now, Wyatt Kaiser has that role, and my feeling is when I've watched Kaiser play and when I've watched Korchinski play, I feel like the ceiling is a lot higher with Korchinski than it is with Kaiser.
Yeah, I mean, the speed is there, the hands is there, the offensive, ability is there. We saw a little bit more toughness towards the end of last season, especially in that playoff series with the IceHogs against Milwaukee. He was getting involved in it. And one of the favorite plays that he did was, one of the first couple of games of the series. Might have been the first game. That first game of Milwaukee series, the Admirals just all they cared about was just hitting. We're going to hit these guys out of the building. Damn if we win, who cares? We're going to send a message. And there was many post-whistle scrums, but there was one where there was a Milwaukee player glove on the ice, and the guy went to pick it up, and Korchinski came by and kicked it halfway across the rink. So I was like, attaboy, that's what I want to see.
Yeah.
So there, and of course everybody's writing off Korchinski. Ever since last season, people want to trade him. You don't trade Kevin Korchinski just to trade Kevin Korchinski. Now, if Kevin Korchinski gets you a Mason McTavish back, okay, you make that deal. But it just seems that this is an issue we have all across sports. That and we've had a lot here lately in Chicago. That when a young, talented player, a top draft pick, isn't an MVP on day one, people want to start ripping them. We're dealing with Caleb Williams. We saw with Connor Bedard. Oh, he doesn't have a 50-goal season yet. He's a bum. He's a bust. He's no good. We saw it even last season when with the Cubs with Pete Crow Armstrong when he came up that first time and struggled. People were writing him off, and you're seeing it with Korchinski. He's not great. He's barely played in the NHL. He's a bust. He's a bum. It's ludicrous to think that these young kids, especially a hockey defenseman, is going to be great right off the bat. Guys like Cale Makar and Quinn Hughes are unicorns. Yeah. What Cale Makar was able to do was unheard of, to come straight out of college and be a top 5 defenseman from day one. That happens once a generation.
And Sam Renzel looks like he's going to be a really good one, but he also had those 2 years in Minnesota.
Yeah, right. If Kevin Korchinski went and played college for 2 years, he'd be way further along in his development right now. But instead, he had a junior year and then had to play in the NHL when he clearly wasn't ready, even though he had flashes in that season where you were like, oh, okay, there it is. But he was in over his head, but it wasn't his fault. You can't blame him for that.
The way the rules are still set up for another year, a guy like Korchinski could either stay in junior and be a man among boys, or come to the NHL and take his lumps. It would have been like next year, a guy like Korchinski would be able to spend a year in the AHL and cut his teeth there. And we talked about this last week with Duncan Keith, where he was up and down, and it took a while for Duncan Keith to fully form.
Yeah,
like you could see his speed, but his game didn't really round into shape.
Yeah, he had 2 full seasons in the AHL, and his first 2 full seasons in the NHL were not great. Because it's all here. It's in between his years, and Korchinski's got to learn that stuff, and the only way you learn that stuff is with reps.
And I don't know how much. I would love for Korchinski to get some time with Brian Campbell. I don't know if that happens. You would know better than I would, because I know Soup is mainly a front office guy. I don't know.
Yeah,
how much
I don't see
out on the ice.
He doesn't get on the ice much, at least not, where there's prying eyes. He used to do that when he first joined the organization. He was down in Rockford a lot as a development coach, but then
and for a while he was turning Yoki Haru into a really good defenseman, and then Stan Bowman traded him for I don't remember anymore.
You don't remember the great Henry Yoki Haru for Alex Nylander trade?
Oh, Alex Nylander, you're right. I remember it was a terrible trade. I just remember
it was. It was.
So,
I've been preaching this for years, but you've got to have patience with these guys, especially the defensemen. We saw Rinzel come up and look great right away, but that is so rare. But he had 2 years at Minnesota, like you said, that those were huge for him.
And don't pretend that through the course of this season, we're not going to see Sam have a few hiccups.
Oh yeah, for sure, absolutely.
He's not going to come out and be Doug Wilson.
No, and
we'll not see even that. Doug Wilson was Doug Wilson when he first came up.
None of them were.
Yeah.
But I think having Rinzel here and then drafting Levshunov takes a ton of pressure off Korchinski.
Oh yeah,
because he doesn't have to be the best young defenseman anymore.
Right, and I mean they have different roles because Rinzel and Levshunov are both going to be mail carriers on the right side. Korchinski, they're going to look for him to be more of a hybrid guy on the left side. And that might determine where he plays too. The fact that Rinzel is a little bit bigger and a little bit more physical, you might wind up eventually seeing Rinzel and Korchinski and see Vlasic skate with Levshunov, where Levshunov could use a little size and thump.
Yeah. It's a good problem to have.
And
if guys like Nolan Allen and Ethan Del Mastro are going to struggle to get playing time, it's a good problem to have.
And I like Del Mastro a lot. I've talked about Del Mastro in our brief time doing this. I've talked about how much I like him, and he's another guy he's one of those guys who just has like a veteran calm about him, even though he's a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And you need a few guys where you have a young body and an old head. You got too many, young heads and old bodies floating around.
Yes. No, you're right about Del Mastro. He is always calm under pressure. Rarely forces himself to make a mistake. And you need guys like that. And he's a much better skater than I think people give credit for. You see Del Mastro, you see his size, and you're like, oh, he's a really good stay-at-home defender, but he can move the puck well, and he's got some offensive ability too. He's not just he's not a Brent Sopel out there. He can shoot the puck a little bit.
Well, I mean, Sopel was a puck eater. He was a good old-fashioned puck eater. And you got to have guys like that. And that's what Nolan Allen is. And Allen's another guy he's got a big body. He's physical, but he can skate too. Basically, if you can't skate, Kyle Davidson doesn't want to know you.
No. Yeah, it's so it'll be interesting to see how that all breaks down. But right now it's a numbers game. There's just not enough spots in the NHL. So a couple of guys are going to have to go, bum slay in the AHL for a little while until their spots open up. But, there's going to be an injury. Someone's going to struggle.
There's going to be trades.
Yeah, Connor Murphy will likely not finish the season here. If he stays healthy, that is a ideal trade deadline candidate. If Grzelcyk sticks around, gets a contract, that's definitely a guy you flip at the deadline. So there'll be chances. These things always seem to work their way out. And if you get that chance, if you're Kevin Korchinski, you have to start the season in the AHL, and then Connor Murphy has an ouchie back for a few games. That's going to happen. And they call you up in November. Force them to never send you back down.
Yeah.
Do a Frank Nazar. You got it there, and you said, you're never sending me back.
Mm-hmm. And there's going to be some talent in Rockford this year because I don't know that Ryan Green's going to make the team. I like him. He's another, like I was talking before about the old head on a young body.
Yeah. Very smart player.
Yeah, he's one of those guys, really high hockey IQ. We talked about Aiden Thompson. Aiden Thompson, I think, is going to get lost in the shuffle. He's going to wind up down in Rockford.
Yeah, I don't see any way he's making the team out of camp. It's probably going to be hard for him to even get an NHL game this year, which is fine. It's kind of funny. Like when he first got drafted, he was like, "Oh, he's one of the best skaters in the prospect pool," and then 2 years later, you're like, "Oh, he's the 11th best skater in the prospect pool." I mean, you look at those guys from Davidson's first draft class that you got a little excited about, guys like Paul Ludwinski and Gavin Hayes. You're like, "Oh, they might be something here," and then 2 or 3 draft classes later, you're like, "Yeah, those guys have fun."
Yeah.
And again, that's a good thing. You want your prospect pool to get better after every draft. You want it to be harder to make this team every year.
And, I've talked before about the fact that they clearly have a formula in place where they have a value system for draft picks so that, if they're loaded up in the second round, they know they can, like they did last year when they made the trade with Carolina to get West, where they'll package 2 or 3 second rounders to get a 1, right, even if it's late in the first round. Late in the first round still has a lot more value than early in the second round. So they've been really good at converting picks into first round picks, and first round picks are high end talent, and you like to think that talent can be converted into skill.
That's the hope. But I mean, it's, if you go to the gas station, you want to buy some scratch offs. Were you going to buy 1 scratch off, or are you going to buy 20? The more tickets you have in the lottery, the better chances you have of winning the grand prize. And that's how they're attacking the draft. Get me as many first rounders as possible, because those guys have better chances to hit than, getting 3 first rounders and then not drafting again to the 4th round gets you a better shot than if you had 1 first rounder and 3 third rounders.
Right. And it's funny because you can see what Davidson's doing. And if you're listening, hey Kyle, what's up?
Somebody from Madison is listening. That I know.
Oh, hello, somebody from Madison. Sorry about Taint Nugget. It was a long time ago.
I don't think anybody that's there remembers that. I'm looking forward to the off season where we can resurrect the story of Taint Nugget.
But anyway, what I see him doing a lot, and he's done this in the last few drafts, where he will do 2 or 3 first round picks, and those are his high value guys. And then they'll have he loves to play in the 3rd round. That's where he gets his Jack Pridhams and his John Mustards and guys like that. Nick Lardis. Those guys, huh?
Mustard.
Exactly. But those are the guys he gets in the 3rd round, and these are the projects, and they're the guys he can afford to wait on.
Yeah. And
then the lower rounds are just, guys, maybe they work out, maybe they don't. Who knows? So there's clearly a strategy involved in building this team. Now, will it work? I don't know. Nothing's guaranteed. It seems sound, but we'll have to see.
Yeah. And that's the beauty of a season like this. We're going to see some of those guys. That's what made the end of last year so exciting, because it was like, these guys just aren't, entries on eliteprospects.com anymore. They're actually physically here, and they're producing, and they look good, and it's exciting. And we're going to see more of that this year, and more of that next year, and more of that after the year after that. And Rockford will be an exciting team this year. They're going to have Lardis and maybe Moore and Green down there, and Thompson, Savoie is still down there. They've got
Ludwinski.
Yeah. And Gavin Hayes is still down there, and Drew Comezzo.
Yeah.
Two of the defensemen are going to be down there, whatever two they are. They're going to be like, this is the most important the Rockford IceHogs have been since they've been the Blackhawks affiliate.
Yeah.
They're a true developmental team, because there's in the Stan Bowman Stanley Cup years, they, after that first rush, when you get Versteeg and Brower and Bickle and those guys came up and produced, there was nothing ever down there.
But those were all, some of them were Mike Smith guys and some were Dale Talon
right.
guys. None of
right.
them
I'm just saying they actually went to Rockford to develop. Corey Crawford was there for a decade before coming to Chicago. But since then, since 2008, 2009, Rockford really hasn't done a whole lot of developing, because there hasn't been a lot of guys down there. And if there were,
and for how long was Barry Smith running the show?
Right. It's the guy that the kids from Scooby-Doo would always pull the mask off, and it'd be Barry Smith under there. Oh God, those are terrible.
You would have gotten away with it if it wasn't for the meddling kids.
But yeah, I mean, the IceHogs are as important as they've ever been for this organization, and I'm happy for the fans down there. They're going to have some exciting. They're getting the AHL All-Star game this year in February. That should be fun. I'm probably going to go out for that. It's during the Olympic break, which makes it even better. So, and I'm happy for Mark Bernard, the general manager of the IceHogs. Maybe he is a top 3 hockey guy that I've met in my career. Just an amazing guy. Just to show you what a nice guy he is. When we had to put down one of our dogs last year, Stella down, one of the pugs, he sent me a text message about, hey, I'm so sorry to hear about that. Like, why is an AHL general manager text messaging me because, we had to put my dog down? But that's the type of guy Bernie is. He's an awesome guy. So I'm happy for him that he's got, he's getting rewarded for being a good soldier for all those years.
Maybe we can give you a hockey name.
Yeah, I'm sure he's got one for me. That you want some good off the record, cannot tell public stories. That's the guy right there, and he offers them up freely. He's got some good stories. Next time you're in town, we'll try and hook up with him and have him tell some stories. He's done it all.
Yeah, I love a good hockey story, especially the off the record ones are the fun ones.
Oh yeah, especially from a guy who was playing juniors in the 70s and 80s, the outlaw days where there were no rules and there were no cell phones and camera phones and social media. Like those are the Wild West days for sure. But it kind of feels like the opening night roster is almost set, just based on the lines they've been running the last couple of days and what we're likely to see. I wrote about this over on blackhawkup.com today. If you want to check that out, that would be great. That helps keep the electricity on, clicking on all those wonderful articles over there. The opening night, if I had to lay down a large sum bet, this would be what I would bet on. Your forwards would be Donato, Bedard, Burakovsky. That's going to be your top line to start the year. We're going to see Frank Nazar in between Teuvo Teravainen and Tyler Bertuzzi again. It worked at the end of last year. Don't mess it up. Your third line, defensive shutdown line. This line will be very hard to play against. Appears is going to be Landon Slaggert, Jason Dickinson, and Ilya Mikheyev. Slagger's missed the last couple of practices with a minor injury. He was skating today on his own, but Blashill said he won't play over the weekend. But AJ Spellici is supposed to play in one of those 2 games over the weekend, so that's good. And then it looks like the fourth line will be Colton Dach, Nick Foligno, and Sam Lafferty to start. And then your top 6 defensemen look to be Alex Vlasic, Sam Rinzel on the top pair, Wyatt Kaiser, Artem Levshunov, second pair, and third pair, Ethan Del Mastro, Connor Murphy. So they're likely going to carry 2 extra forwards and an extra defenseman to start the year. So not a lot of options there for all these roster battles we were hoping to see. It looks like they didn't last very long.
No.
One of those extra,
like you were saying, between injuries and possible trades, we're going to see a lot of guys on the shuttle.
Mm-hmm. For sure. It's going to be the same as it was last year. By March, Murphy's a trade candidate. I guarantee if someone calls for Tyler Bertuzzi, Kyle Davidson will fall over backwards to get that trade done. There's some other guys out there. If Nick, I don't think it will happen, but if Nick Foligno says, "Hey, I want to chase a cup," they'll accommodate him, I think. But I don't see that scenario happening.
No, me either. I think he likes being in Chicago.
Yeah, Foligno's wife would kill him if she had to pick up and move again. He's even said that. So I think he likes being here. But you never know. A guy could get nostalgic at the end of his career and say, "Hey, I want to make a shot," but I don't see that happening.
I think he gets a farewell lap in the last home game and then settles behind a desk at CHSN next season.
That sounds like a plan, a very likely plan. He legitimately loves this city. Like his kids are in school here, and he really enjoys it here. So I could definitely, and the organization loves him. Yeah, clearly, they're big fans of his. So he could definitely stick around. So those extra forwards, right now one of them's Lucas Reichel, but I think that's only because they don't want to risk putting him through waivers. Somebody would claim him on waivers, I would think. So they don't want to do that. But we talked about Tuesday's game. That was the guy that got to play with Bedard and Doc on that top line, and
he was invisible.
That's been his problem.
Yeah.
He just, he only seems to perform when he's with Craig Smith and Pat Maroon. Maybe you got to bring those guys back. It's disappointing because I really like Lucas Reichel. He's a good kid, easy to cheer for. I talked to him a bunch of times when he was in Rockford, and then he comes up here, always in a good mood, always willing to talk. It's not happening here. For whatever reason, it's not happening here. Now he's on his third head coach to try and impress. So I think he'll be on the opening night roster if he's on this team, only because they don't want to lose him to waivers. But I have a hard time seeing him getting a lot of playing time because where are you going to put him?
Yeah, I could see maybe the Hawks do a trade where they send him off somewhere for another guy who needs to change of scenery.
Yeah, for sure. That seems to be the logical explanation.
The good thing for the younger players now is the fact that Blashill's going to be their coach for the next couple of years.
Yeah.
So, for better or for worse. And because of that, there's at least going to be some stability in the organization.
Yeah. You'd think. At least it better be, because then, there's going to be a lot more heat on Kyle Davidson if this coaching staff doesn't work out. But he's got the, Luke Richardson kind of had the runway of, we're tearing it down for a rebuild, so there's no expectations. And then he got a roster where there should have been some expectation, and that didn't work out so well. So now Blashill's got the little bit of runway because, it's so young. All these kids are coming up. They need time to gel. But at some point, there's going to have to be results.
Yeah.
So I don't know who the second.
Luke Richardson also had the luxury of being the guy after Jeremy Collin.
Oh, yeah. That helped. That helped. And I liked Luke Richardson. Another really good guy. Another guy just loved talking hockey. But I think just a little too stubborn eventually caught up to him. So hopefully he learned those lessons. He's going to be in Nashville. Heck, he might be the head coach of the Nashville Predators by November. If they get off to another slow start, Blackhawks legend Andrew Brunette might get launched. I don't know how he survived last season, to be honest with you, but
I don't know how he got hired.
Yeah, I mean,
because he did not have a good run in Florida, and he got bounced in Chicago very unceremoniously.
Yeah, Barry Trotz is one of the best coaches ever, but I don't think he's got a handle on this GMing thing just yet. I'm not quite sure what he's doing down there.
There's no state income tax in Nashville, so clearly they're a cup contender.
Right? That's what I was told.
Can't win the cup if you have state income tax.
I mean, it's amazing that nobody thought of any of this stuff when, the Blackhawks and Kings won 5 out of 6 Stanley Cups in 2 of the most highly taxed states ever.
Yep.
Illinois and California. They were able to win Stanley Cups, multiple Stanley Cups in the same era. But, yes, the no state income tax thing is a luxury to have, but you still have to get the right players.
Yeah, and if you I would love to get an accountant on who handles professional athletes, because I happen to get in a conversation with the guy who does my taxes, because my wife has done some business travel and she had to go to New York on business, and she wound up having to pay some New York state tax because of it. And he was telling me that that's what happens with professional athletes is, okay, you play for the Florida Panthers and there's no state income tax in the state of Florida. But when you go to the United Center to play the Blackhawks, the game you're getting paid for is subject to Illinois state tax. And when you go to play the Rangers at the Garden, you pay New York state tax, and so forth and so on. So the state income tax thing, it's a red herring that the Toronto media has grabbed onto. And, not to mention the other thing is all these guys, there's so much money being made by professional hockey players that they've got accountants that are sheltering their money from taxes wherever they play and wherever they live.
For sure.
Yeah, they're not paying taxes the way I'm paying taxes.
No.
And I live in Florida.
You know why guys are willing to take less money to play for the Florida Panthers? Because they're a really good fucking team and they win the Stanley Cup. That's why.
And you get to win the Stanley Cup and live in Fort Lauderdale. You cannot fucking beat that. There is no deal in the NHL better than that.
No. And you get, you probably get to be, you could go out to dinner with your wife and family and nobody knows who the hell you are. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're going to have, but it's not like being Matthew Tkachuk.
If you drive through Miami, there's banners up on every street with pictures of the Panthers.
Well, I guarantee you more people.
Toast to that town.
I guarantee you more people bother Brady Tkachuk out to dinner in Ottawa than people bother Matthew Tkachuk.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
Matthew Tkachuk does a bunch of local ads. Everyone knows who he is.
All right. Well, Sam Bennett probably doesn't get stopped for very many pictures and autographs. I don't know if I could even point him out in the lineup, and I've watched him play his whole career. But that's why, the Panthers are good. It's not because of the no state. It's because the general manager knows how to bring in really good players. Did an amazing job of finding guys like Sam Bennett and Sam Reinhart, who were outcasts from other teams. Gustav Forsling. He does a really good job of building a team. That's what the good GMs do, is build a team. There's a difference between filling out a roster and building a team, and he's built a great team down there. Yes, the loophole helps him a little bit, probably, but not really. Those guys would all want to play there anyway. Brad Marchand would take less money to play there because he loved it down there and likes to win. That's why they go there.
Yeah, and let me tell you, the same weather and tax situation existed in southern Florida 10 years ago, and nobody wanted to play for the Panthers.
No, or the Lightning.
10 years ago, the Lightning.
Well, okay. 15 years ago, no one wanted to play for the Lightning. It's the same thing with Vegas.
2015, they famously lost the Stanley Cup final.
I do remember that vaguely.
And the cup got stuck in traffic.
Along with all of us. Yeah, it's the same thing with Vegas. People want to sign in Vegas because they want to win every year.
Yeah.
It's not because of it's no state income tax. It's not because they can go gamble every night. It's because they got an owner that balls to the wall, wants to win every year.
Yeah.
Doesn't care. Is willing to kick reporters out of the facility because they dare ask questions about Carter Hart, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, you know, they don't care. They just want to win. That's why players want to go play for those teams. It's got nothing to do with the taxes.
No.
But, you know, as you said, Toronto gets butthurt every year because they get smacked around by the Panthers or the Lightning, and they got to make an excuse. Here's an idea. Get better players. Get players that don't fold under pressure the second it shows up in the playoffs.
Yeah. And, of course, Mitch Marner leaving to go to a non-tax state.
Wow. He didn't leave. They traded him there, jerks.
Yeah, right?
Toronto, the gift that keeps on giving. Yeah, so we're getting closer.
We are.
Closer. We got a couple games this weekend. St. Louis, Minnesota, and then 3 at home next week. And then the season starts for real.
Yeah, and they're, you know, the fact that the Cubs are looking at a very quick exit in the playoffs, they'll be pretty much the only game in town except on Sundays.
Yeah. I mean, I know there was some concern. I guess the Blackhawks home opener would be on the same day as Game 4 for the Cubs series if it gets that far. But I don't think they have to worry about that.
No.
Not with that. No bullpen and a lack of hitting. And that's not made for but that was your old podcast. You're not on that podcast anymore.
Right.
Yeah. Suck it, games.
Every year when the schedule comes out, it's like, okay, are we going to Tampa or are we going to Sunrise to see the Hawks play? This year it's Tampa. And,
I would imagine the ticket prices for that home opener are a little pricey.
Little bit, yeah. Like,
be fun though.
My good friend Dave Lassiter, who used to write, what's SB Nation's Panthers blog?
I can't remember it off the top of my head.
He wrote,
no, that's the Canes. I can't think of it right now.
But he wrote for them like he wrote for them when we were doing hockey night. And when we get down to Southern Florida, we always try to meet up with him and his wife because they're really great people. And I'm like, oh man, I'm really sorry you can't go to a banner raising because it's pretty cool, but those ticket prices are ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, it looks like Alexander Barkov might not be available for that game either. He went down with injury today at camp. Needed to be helped off the ice with a lower body injury. Fell a little awkwardly during a drill. So no Kachuk, no Barkov. The Blackhawks might only lose by 3 that night.
Last year was so funny because that was the game where Slaggert scored 7 seconds in.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, holy shit. They're catching the Panthers napping. And then
they just whipped them the rest of the night.
And man, they are I've been a Blackhawks fan since 1960. My dad took me to my first game at the end of the 66-67 season. That's how long. That's my Blackhawks bona fide. But man, the Panthers are a fun team to watch because the way that they cover the ice, it just always looks like there's 8 guys out there.
Yeah. If they get healthy, now they have to get healthy. If they get healthy and stay healthy, I don't see anybody beating them in a 7-game series this year.
No. And I think that's the whole strategy is like, Kachuk, he went and he got his surgery. And I think they might have even waited on it a little bit to kind of spread it out over the season.
Yeah.
It's like, be ready for April. When April 1st comes around, we want to be at full strength.
Because they know he's going to go play at the Olympics. So, what's 2 months off if you're going to go play at the Olympics and then be ready for the playoffs? They'll be fine.
The Olympics are going to be his tune-up.
Yeah. So, yeah, Florida, really good at hockey. But,
I know that's a really hot take.
I know. You heard it here first on the second balcony. Florida, really good at hockey. Nobody did this before.
2 straight Stanley Cups. They're good.
I like where they're going. Watch the Hawks totally win that game now. Get in there. You get the cup banner.
A lot of times, banner raisings, the guys are kind of drained by the end of it. It's emotional, and especially because it's not like if you have a banner raising and there's 3 or 4 guys that weren't part of it, they're pretty much completely running it back.
Yeah, it's the same group. Yeah, there's not. Yeah.
So,
but they did it last year, so they should be used to it.
Yeah.
Oh, this thing again. But see, they're smart about it now, though, because before they would have pregame warmups, then they would do the banner raising. Now they do the banner raising before pregame warmups. At least that's what they did in Colorado, because I was there, covered that game for CHGO in Denver for when the Avs opened the season against the Blackhawks. And they did the ceremony, then they did pregame warm-up, and that's a much better way to do it than have guys sit around 45 minutes after they warmed up, because that's just just waiting for a hamstring or a groin to get pulled that way.
Well, the other nice thing is you get the barn packed for flag raising, and then everybody's got to sit around for an hour and sell some beer and sell some food. And
beer's not going to drink itself.
And there's clear out all of the old Stanley Cup merch that you got left over.
Yep, sell those replica banners.
By the way, the Florida Panthers have got something that's incredible in their gift shop in the arena. They have an entire rack of the light blue sweaters with the palm tree on it, and they're all Scott Mellanby.
I still love Scott Mellanby, huh?
They love Scott Mellanby. And I was like, I didn't want to buy, like last year, they also had the Four Nations sweaters in the store. So I was like, the Finland one looks pretty sharp, but I don't really, I didn't want to spend the money on a hockey sweater. And B, I really don't want to, as much as I love Alexander Barkov, I really don't want to spend the money on a Finland Barkov sweater. But man, that light blue Mellanby was calling my name. I did take a picture and send it to Bruce Miles.
Good old Bruce. Yeah. I see Scott Mellanby shows up at the United Center every once in a while. He's a scout for probably the Panthers, I would assume.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, you'll be in the press box, and either before the game or in between periods, you'll go up to the little area where all the food is, and there he is, front and center. And you're like, hey, that's Scott Mellanby. That's that's the most fun I have at these games, is seeing all the guys that that were big players in my formidable years when I was really falling in love with the sport, and now they're Dirk Graham and Michel Goulet show up every once in a while. All those guys. It's a lot of fun.
Now, can you talk to them as media and say, like, hey, who you're looking at? Well, I can't imagine they would tell you.
I mean, here's the thing. You don't have to, because they all stand around together and talk shop right there in the common area. So just get the table right next to them, and you'll hear exactly what they're talking about. You don't have to ask them for shit.
All right.
You just got to, stand close by. They all talk shop. I mean, unless
Goulet's talking French with someone.
Oh, and we famously have said this on the air at CHGO too. We don't like when Mark Bergevin shows up because he goes into the jar of gummy bears barehanded and grabs them.
Oh,
yeah, I've
dude.
seen him do that twice, and it's like, dude, he's probably the type of guy that doesn't wipe down his machine when he's done with it at the gym, since he's a big workout guy.
And he definitely is double dipping chips too.
Yeah. So the first time I saw him do that, I was like, dude, that's my one joy up here. You couldn't have done that to the Whoppers. Nobody likes those.
Whoppers are pretty cool. I like Whoppers.
It's like eating sawdust.
Delicious malted sawdust.
It's like the stuff back in grade school that they used to soak up the puke when some kid would puke in the hallway. Chocolate covered.
Yeah. Sweeping compound. Anyway, we should probably wrap this up.
We're this one's getting off the rails pretty quick here.
So thank you to our 16,666 listeners.
Absolutely.
And subscribe, damn it.
Yes. Hit that subscribe button. Hit the like button for the episode. That's how we get into the YouTube algorithm so more eyeballs can see us. Tell your friends.
Tell your enemies.
Yeah. If you think we suck, tell everybody you hate and make them miserable by listening to us. Tell your dads. Yeah. I mean, hey, listen, hate watchers, their views count just as well as the people who like us. We'll take any view we can get. So hit that subscribe button if you haven't. You'll get notified.
Shoot a link to all those porn bots you're liking.
Yes. When you subscribe,
I know my
will
audience.
Tell you it. YouTube will tell you when we're on. We're trying to shoot every Thursday, but once the season starts, it's going to get a little erratic. So best way to do it is hit the subscribe button, and then they'll tell you, hey, Second Balcony's got a new episode. Go check it out. Follow us on, if you're listening to us on your podcast, follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all those places. Leave us a 5-star review. All those things help. We didn't start this thing by buying somebody else's feed and starting with 10,000 viewers. We're doing this organically from scratch, started with 0. So, help us spread the word, and we'll keep pumping out these episodes as quickly as we can. All right. I think I hear the organ tuning. It's time for the lovely outro. Frank, you be good. We'll be chatting, and we'll see all you kids next week.